This week, Pope Francis celebrated his name day. We hear about two people who could be named saints soon, and we find out how to sing for the Pope. All this coming up next. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Vatican Connections. There were more reasons to celebrate at the Vatican this week, the feast day of St. George. Now, that is Pope Francis's given name, Jorge, so that makes St. George his namesake. To celebrate, the cardinals who live in or who were visiting Rome concelebrated Mass with Pope Francis in the Pauline Chapel of the Apostolic Palace. After the Mass, the Swiss Guard Band played for Pope Francis and the cardinals, and they even gave the Holy Father a cake for his name day. One piece of not-so-welcome news for Vatican employees: they won't be getting a bonus for the election of the new Pope. Now, traditionally, after a conclave, all Vatican employees get a pay bonus of about 500 euros or approximately $655 US. Father Federico Lombardi, the director of the Holy See Press Office, told journalists that given the difficult economic situation, it seemed neither possible nor opportune to burden the budgets of Vatican offices with a considerable, extraordinary, unexpected expense. The Holy See employs about 2,800 people, and if each one got a 500 euro bonus, that's an expense of 1.4 million euros. In 2011, the Holy See posted a deficit of 14.8 million euros, or $19.4 million. So instead of giving employees bonuses, Pope Francis will make donations to several charities. The cut to the bonuses has caught employees off guard, and some are understandably unhappy about the lack of a bonus, but at least one former Vatican employee told me that when she worked there during the last papal transition, wages were fair considering the cost of living. Switching gears now, two people have spoken in the last week about whether Pope Francis might open up the portion of the secret archives directly related to the papacy of Pope Pius XII. Documents are grouped by pontificate, and collections are open to the public once they've been in the archives for 75 years. Today, scholars can consult documents dating up to the end of the pontificate of Pius XI. Rabbi Abraham Skorka of Buenos Aires told the Irish magazine The Tablet he believes Pope Francis is likely to open up the files from Pius XII's pontificate. Catholic News Service spoke to another Jewish leader about that possibility.
It's very likely that Pope Francis will speed up the process of releasing the secret archive documentation from the period of the Second World War. I think this is what he would want to do. And I think that Pope Francis will definitely be inclined to speed up the process as much as possible. And I think it's very important that there is transparency and open opportunity for scholars to look at all the material available. However, in my opinion, as important as that is, it's not going to resolve the debate over the role of Pius XII during the period of the Shoah, the period of the Holocaust. In a sense, the debate here is a hypothetical one. If he would have done what he could have done but didn't do, would it have been different? And now we sit, if you like, with the benefit of hindsight and make our own judgments one way or another, and based upon the degree of either our commitment to a pope or of the pain of our own particular collective experience. This, I think, is a bridge which will never be able to be reconciled between the two parties, and if we're mature enough, we'll learn to live with respect for the differences between us. Anyone who accuses Pope Pius XII of malicious intent simply has not bothered to assess the facts and to look into the historical record. There is no question that he did save Jews and helped others to save Jews. The critical question is, as I said before, could he have done more? And obviously from a Jewish perspective, a lot more, not least of all in taking a public open stand against the Nazi regime. and the amount of succor and hope and reassurance that such a demonstrative act could have given to Jews suffering in the camps and facing the spectre of death at that particular time, and others.
This week we also got updates on two people who could be made saints very soon, John Paul II and Oscar Romero. Now, the Italian media are reporting that doctors have determined a healing attributed to the intercession of John Paul II has no natural explanation. Now, a panel of theologians will examine the events surrounding the healing to see if it can really be attributed to John Paul II. This is highly unusual because normally the public only finds out about an attributed miracle once the Pope has been informed and has approved the canonization of the person in question. Adding to the mystery, the postulator for John Paul II's sainthood was not giving interviews this month, but Cardinal Stanislaw Dziwisz told the web-based news site Vatican Insider that it would be marvelous if the canonization took place before the end of the year of faith. Now, the second sainthood cause we heard about this week is the cause for Archbishop Oscar Romero, the El Salvadorian bishop who was shot while celebrating Mass on March 24, 1980. Over the weekend, the postulator for Romero's cause, Archbishop Vincenzo Paglia, made a comment during a homily. He said that the Archbishop's cause was recently unblocked. He didn't give any more details. What could have blocked his cause? Well, Romero's cause is not just for canonization, but it's also to have him recognized as a martyr. That means no miracles need to be attributed to him. It does mean his writings and teachings have to be examined to determine that they are free of doctrinal error. Then it needs to be determined that he was killed out of hatred for the faith. There has been some disagreement over whether he was killed for political reasons rather than faith reasons. Did you know St. George is venerated in Catholic, Anglican, and Orthodox churches? He is also the patron saint of England, and his cross is on the English flag. While the Pope has had several public events this week, he had fewer private audiences this week. Who did he meet with? Well, he met with the President of Ecuador, Rafael Correa. He greeted the president with a warm embrace, and according to one journalist who was among the few members of the media in the study, he said to the president, "You're looking fresh as a lettuce," a reference to the long trip the president made to get to Rome. According to a communiqué released by the Holy See, the Pope and the President Correa spoke about the Church's contribution to various aspects of life in Ecuador. They also spoke about social justice, solidarity, subsidiarity, and the treatment of native peoples. We know Pope Francis met with Archbishop Vincenzo Paglia on Saturday. It was shortly after that meeting Archbishop Paglia made his comments about the cause for canonization of Oscar Romero. On Sunday, Pope Francis ordained 10 young men to the priesthood. They came from 3 different Roman seminaries, and just before the Mass began, he surprised the young men by walking into the sacristy where they were getting ready. He spent a moment in prayer with each of them and entrusted them and their ministry to the Blessed Virgin. Now, this is something he's done with ordination candidates since he became Archbishop of Buenos Aires. During his homily, he asked the 10 men to be merciful pastors, not just functionaries. Otherwise, his homily was based on a homily that appears in the Pontificate Romanum with a few personal additions. And he later led the Regina Coeli prayer. Now, it seems he noticed that there were a lot of young people present in the piazza, so he addressed them directly and told them to listen to the voice of Jesus. He said, "Ask him what he wants of you." He also said, sometimes we don't realize Jesus is speaking to us, hence the need to listen carefully. Tuesday was the Pope's name day, and he celebrated Mass with the cardinals who were present in Rome. Wednesday, he resumed his daily Masses in the chapel of the Santa Marta residence. Now, during the Mass, which he celebrated with the employees of the Vatican Bank, he said the Church began in the heart of the Father, who had an idea of love. So, this love story began, a story that has gone on for so long, and it has not yet ended. We, the women and men of the Church, are in the middle of a love story, he said. And if we don't understand this, we have not understood what the Church is. He also said when the Church starts to flaunt its size and create offices and departments, it becomes bureaucratic and loses its essence, and it risks becoming an NGO. He then turned directly to the congregation and said, "Excuse me, everything is necessary. Offices are necessary, but they're necessary up to a certain point as an aid to this story of love." On Thursday, Pope Francis met with the chief rabbi of the Sephardic Jewish community of Buenos Aires, Isaac Saka. And this weekend, Pope Benedict was scheduled to confirm a group of candidates during a Mass that was originally scheduled by Pope Benedict as part of celebrations for the Year of Faith. This week, Pope Francis also spent some time in his office making phone calls. He called Giorgio Napolitano, who was re-elected president of Italy this week. Now, in Italy, the president is the head of state, while the prime minister is the head of the government. Pope Francis thanked President Napolitano for the telegram he sent for the feast of St. George, and the Pope told the 87-year-old president his decision to accept a second term shows commitment to unity. Napolitano had said he would not accept a second term as president, but the Italian parliament spent days trying to agree on a candidate. Finally, Napolitano said he would accept a second term if it was the only way to clear the impasse. Time to find out who the Pope has appointed to various roles and what other moves he's made. First up, Canada has a new eparch, sort of. Pope Francis approved the expansion of the Romanian Greek Orthodox Eparchy, or diocese, that is currently based in Canton, Ohio. So with this expansion, the eparchy will include all of Canada. Currently, the head of the eparchy is Bishop John Michael Botean. With this expansion, the eparchy will have 21 parishes, including one in Toronto and one in Montreal, all of which are served by 29 diocesan priests. Pope Francis also made another curial appointment. Father Alejandro Bunge is the new auditor of the Roman Rota. Father Bunge was the judicial vicar of the Interdiocesan Tribunal of Buenos Aires and a professor of canon law. What is the Roman Rota? It is one of the tribunals or courts that are part of the Holy See. It functions mainly as a court of appeal, but of course it deals with ecclesiastical issues and not legal issues. Well, this is the part of the program where we answer your questions about matters related to the Vatican and how it works. And this week, we got a question from Julie, who wanted to know how a choir can arrange to sing for the Pope. She's taking a group to the Vatican this summer, and she wanted to know how to make that work. So, Julie, it is possible. Now, it won't be a private concert, but choir groups planning to visit the Vatican can sing for the Pope during a weekly general audience. You'll have about 1 minute to sing for him, and you will get special seats so he can see and hear you. How to arrange it? Well, there's two ways. The prefecture of the papal household handles all the details surrounding the general audiences, special audiences, and pastoral visits. The Fabbrica di San Pietro also handles day-to-day functions at St. Peter's and can help make arrangements. Now, whichever you contact, you will have to either call or send a fax. Yes, a fax. Certain departments at the Vatican don't have websites or email addresses. You can find those phone numbers on our webpage, saltandlighttv.org/Vatican. Vatican Connections. Vatican Connections is interactive. Send us your questions or comments by Facebook, Twitter, email, or post. Via email, send comments to info@saltandlighttv.org, and by post, send letters to 114 Richmond Street East, Toronto, Ontario, M5C 1P1, Canada. And this week, our Roman profile looks at St. Peter's Basilica. Now, the last couple of weeks, we've brought you profiles of the different major basilicas in Rome. And now, Liz Lev, the art historian who's been filling us in on the meaning of the basilicas, talks about St. Peter's.
As an art historian, I love the Papal Basilica of St. Peter's because it makes it all look easy. That church, the history, the events, the construction of the church as we see it today, 120 years, half a dozen architects, a dozen popes in order to get that thing done. And yet somehow you walk in and it makes it all look easy. That is the church of our glory. That is the church of what we want the world to see us as. It's our best face forward, the Basilica of St. Peter's. And it's also such a poignant reminder of where we come from. What St. Peter shows us, what it shows us better than any other church in the world, is that the Romans can make mistakes. The Romans put Peter's body in that hole in the ground, walked away wiping dirt from their hands, convinced they had just taken out the trash. What they didn't realize, they had just planted a seed. And that is what St. Peter's is. That's what the body of St. Peter is to that magnificent structure. That's what the remains of St. Peter's are to the Vatican Museum's annex to it. That's what it means for the Pope to celebrate Mass on top of the papal altar sits on top of the tomb of St. Peter. And frankly, when you look at it in St. Peter's, it just makes it look easy. It shows us that all that hard work, all those moments of sacrifice, all those moments of discouragement when the churches, seem to go careening off to the sides, that steadfast perseverance to bring it back, into line, into its path, it all pays off because look at what we can do.
And that's it for Vatican Connections this week. This Sunday, Pope Francis will celebrate Mass at St. Peter's and confirm a group of 44 young people from different parts of the world. And this is all to mark the Year of Faith. Of course, we'll have full coverage of that confirmation Mass on Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. We'll be joining those confirmandi with our prayers. And don't forget to join us next week as we look back on the first month of Pope Francis's papacy. From everyone here, thanks for watching.